Hello there, Michelle Short here with Terrific Tags with Michelle. Today I'm using glitter without mess with a new glitter cardstock set. So this is the new beautiful Shimmering short glitter cardstock set. There is 4 colours in this set, all beautiful, got some kind of like aqua tones to them. I absolutely love the sparkle on this cardstock. It doesn't shed, it's great for die cutting, which is what I'm going to be using it for today. I'm taking the Bird of the Mountain die set. This is a great set. The bird is quite large, so it does take quite centre stage on a card, which is excellent. So I'm going to cut some of the layers from the glitter cardstock and some of them from regular cardstock. So I'm just taking all of the pieces here that I need for the bird. There is the instructions on the back of how you want to layer them together. I'm taking the gradient cardstock set in Seashore, and these are also aquatones. They're going to work quite well with the glitter cardstock. You can see that I use this pack a lot. I keep all of my little scraps inside there as well. Keep every last little bit of this cardstock because it's great for die cutting. So I'm taking the body of the bird, kind of like the main part of the bird, and I'm cutting that from the lightest shade of that Seashore cardstock set. I'm then taking the second layer and I'm going to cut that from the darkest shade in that Seashore set. And I'm also going to cut one of the feather pieces as well for the wing. So I'm just holding these down with some low tack tape. I'm just getting everything ready to start with, and then I can run everything through my die cutting machine in one go. I'm then cutting the legs, the beak and the eye from black cardstock, and then I'm cutting some of the feather pieces for the wings, and then also kind of like the top of the bird's head from that glitter cardstock, and I'm using the 2 middle shades for that. So one of them is cut from the lighter part of the glitter cardstock and one of them is cut from the darker shade of glitter cardstock. So just cutting those pieces down. I do hold the dies down on the glitter paper with low tack tape, but to be honest with you, it's not going to stick to glitter cardstock. However, I do find that as I'm running it through, it just helps a little bit to keep them in place. I'm then taking some leaves and I'm cutting those from the darkest shade in the Shimmering Shore glitter set. This has got a little bit more of a green tone to it, and I'm using the leaves from the Crafty Flower Open Peony layering die set. These are one of my favourite sets of leaves. So I've run all of that through my die cutting machine, and I do want the body of the bird to be cut another 2 times from a white cardstock so that I can layer those on top of each other to create some dimension. I don't want to adhere my bird down with foam tape, but I did still want some dimension, and the easiest way to do that for me personally is to cut some different layers of cardstock, and that's just going to pop that bird up a little bit higher than it would be if I was adhering it completely flat, if it was just the one layer. So I've adhered those 2 white layers together to start with using some liquid glue. That helps me have a little bit of time to wiggle the pieces together to try and line them up as best as possible. So I can pop that piece down there for the kind of, like I say, main body of the bird, and then I'm adhering the tail down on top using that glitter cardstock. And these colours just work really nicely together. I'm then placing the top of the bird on top of that, and I'm just using that arrow there that's cut from all of the layers to line them all up. But they do line up really quite easily. Because I'm adhering down onto glitter cardstock, it is going to take a little while for that glue to dry. So I'm just using a block there just to hold that down while the glue dries. I can then add some more glue onto the back of this piece here, and then I can pop that in place. And again, I can use that arrow to line the pieces up. So just popping that down in place. And then I've got the bottom piece of the wing here, again using that arrow to line that up. And then for the top piece, I'm just lining it up with the kind of feather itself so that it all lines up nicely. For the legs, it did take me a little while to get these in place, and I had to cut that out of the video because I really had to lean over. But again, it's really good with that liquid glue because I've got time to sort of wiggle them in place. And then I can do the same thing here for the beak and then also the eye. I then want to stamp a sentiment, so I'm taking a piece of classic Crest 110 solar white cardstock, and I'm taking the sentiment strips 2 stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that down onto the cardstock using the stamp wheel. This is one of my favourite sets of sentiments. I really love that there are so many in the set that you can pick from. So I'm taking the top of the stamp wheel here, the flip plate, popping that in place to pick up that stamp, and then I can flip that over and ink that up with Obsidian Pigment Ink. I can then flip that plate back over and pop that in place in the stamp wheel to press that stamp down onto the cardstock. And I got a really nice impression first time, so I didn't need to repeat that stamping. I am going to set that aside to dry for a little while because it is pigment ink. It does take a little while to dry. I've got a card base here that's cut to 4 inches across by 5.5 inches tall. So I've cut a little bit off of the side of a standard sized A2 card base so that I can have some pieces hanging off the side of the card base, but it's still going to fit in a standard sized envelope. I've cut a tag using the Terrific Tags die set from the same classic Crest 110 solar white cardstock that I used to make the card base. I'm going to use this tag as kind of like a grounding for the rest of the pieces here. So I'm taking the leaves first of all. I'm adding some liquid glue onto the back of those, and I am cutting some of them down a little bit with scissors just so that none of the excess pieces are going to stick out where I don't want them to be. So I can add that liquid glue onto the back, and then I'm using tweezers here just to help me pop that in place. So I'm going to have some of the leaves on top of the tag and some of them below the tag. Just creates a little bit more movement and interest onto the card. So I can just pop that in place, and I'm just taking my time here. Again, I'm using that liquid glue, so I've got that time to sort of wiggle things in place where I want them to be. So I'm definitely more of a die cutter at the moment. I love stamping and I will always love stamping, but I'm definitely gravitating towards die cuts at the moment. I just find them really lovely to use, and I just for some reason happen to really love layering die sets in particular. So I do like kind of creating scenes and things like that with the die cuts. Let me know what you're into at the moment. I definitely go through phases with die cutting and stamping, but at the moment I think I'm team die cutting. So let me know if you're team die cutting, team stamping. You could be team pressing if you wanted to. You could be team foiling. Let me know in the comments what you're up to at the moment. So I've added that leaf onto the tag there, and I'm taking some instant dimension foam tape and popping that on the back of the tag. I can then add some twine through the top of the tag. I don't really need to necessarily add the twine through the top of the tag because I'm not using it to kind of adhere onto anything as such. I am just using this tag as kind of like I say, a grounding or sort of a base layer, but I'm not that keen on having nothing through the whole of the tag. That's just my thing, so I did want to add some twine through it, and I do think adding a bow to any card is always a nice touch. So I can remove the backings off of that foam tape, and then I can press that down onto the card. I'm then adding some more liquid glue onto the back of the bird, and I'm just adding it towards the centre of the bird because the head and the tail are going to overlap that tag. So just popping that down so that his legs are at the bottom of the tag so that it looks like he is perching on that tag. And then I can just wiggle that in place so that it is straight. I did think about adding some foam tape behind the bird's tail, but because that is 4 layers of cardstock high, or kind of thick I should say, it is quite sturdy, so I didn't think I really needed it. I am adding some foam tape onto the back of the sentiment strip though. I've added 3 layers onto the left hand side and 1 layer onto the right hand side, so that is going to line up straight with all of these different layers I've got here on my card. So I'm using a T-square ruler here just to help me pop that down in place. I just tend to sort of place it down to start with, and then I do wiggle it around a little bit to make sure that that's straight. And so that is the card finished for today. Ordinarily, I probably wouldn't add so much glitter cardstock onto a card, but I did die cut those leaves with non-glittered cardstock, and then I tried it with the glitter cardstock, and I just thought that they were so pretty cut from the glitter cardstock that I had to go all out with the glitter on my card today. Links to the products that I used will be listed in the description bar on YouTube and also over on the Altenew blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.